All right, good afternoon. I will call this meeting to order for the Design Review Board for Thursday, September 12th. I'll ask staff for confirmation that the Kansas Open Meeting Act required notice has been properly provided.
Yes, I can confirm that the packet was posted and the required notice was provided.
Thank you. Item 1.3, roll call.
Call roll. Board Member Nelson. Board Member Cates.
Present.
Board Member Freeland.
Present.
Chair Manley.
Present.
That gives us 3 members in attendance, which constitutes a quorum, and we will be allowed to move on with today's business.
Item 2.1, approval of minutes of the August 22nd meeting. Since I was the only one present on the board, I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 3-0. Item 3.1.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item 3.1 is a public hearing item, application CC 24-13. That has been filed by Gleason & Son Signs on behalf of the Salvation Army, and they are requesting that this board approve a certificate of compatibility to allow a new 4-foot by 5-foot illuminated projecting sign to be installed on the building located at the northeast corner of South 5th and Walnut Street. And we indicated in our report that we didn't have a lot of information historically about this building, other than we were able to determine that the Salvation Army thrift store was established in this building in 1982 and has been there ever since. And when they moved in 1982, they put up a projecting sign at the southwest corner of the building, roughly in the same location of where they're proposing to do that now. And so because this property is located within Business Improvement District 1, the Design Review Board needs to review and approve the proposed sign before a sign permit can be issued. And so we have gone through the design guidelines, and the only thing that we discussed a little bit was the whole question of illumination and the method of illumination. And so in reviewing this sign, it's very similar to what was there before, which has now been removed. But it appeared to us, based on what was submitted, that with the white sign cabinet, that the entire cabinet was proposed to be internally illuminated, and we believe that that conflicts with the design guideline that states that that is discouraged, and if internal illumination is used, a system that backlights the sign text is preferred. We do believe that this sign could be modified so only the letters and logo and outline would be illuminated, and so other than that, the sign certainly conforms. It's a projecting sign. It's only 20 square feet. It's not disproportionate to the building, and we think it meets the design guidelines and would meet the design guidelines if it was modified so only the text and unique sign features are illuminated. So we would want clarification from Gleason & Son whether this is an entirely illuminated cabinet, and you would have the option of approving a fully illuminated projecting sign, or you could approve the installation of a projecting sign but require that it be modified so that only the letters and logo in the sign are illuminated. You could postpone consideration of this sign proposal to a future meeting date if you think you need additional information, or you could deny approval of the sign. Our recommendation after reviewing this is that the board approve the sign with the condition that the sign cabinet be modified so only the sign letters and logo are illuminated, that a sign permit be issued for the projecting sign, that it be installed by a licensed contractor, and it be installed in a way that it maintains 10 feet of clearance over the sidewalk on 5th Street and Walnut Street. So with that, we'd be open to any questions that you might have about the sign.
Any questions from the board of staff?
We do have Tiffany Nagel from Gleason on Zoom, and said it looked to us like the entire cabinet was illuminated, but Tiffany could clarify that for the board.
Before we go there, any questions from the board, from staff? Okay, I'll open it up for Tiffany, representative from Gleason Signs. Do you have any comments of what has been said in regards to the illumination of the lettering and the cabinet? We cannot hear you if you are talking. But we've had some technical difficulties today, so maybe on our end, not sure. Barely. Can you say a few more words, please? It might be coming out of the laptop and not our piped-in sound, so. One second, Tiffany. Okay, Tiffany, can you give it one more try, please? Well, we might be able to move on as presented, because I think we do have a proposal of an option 2.
Translate what she said.
Yeah, we can probably translate from the laptop over there.
Yeah.
All right, Tiffany, one more try. We're trying something unique.
I don't know how it is.
All right, I think we're unsuccessful. So I'll probably just bring this back to the board, and if you do not like our consideration, Tiffany, you can appeal or swing by, and we can deal with this next meeting. So apologize for our technical difficulties. Tiffany, do you want to say one more try?
Can you hear me?
Yes. So,
Okay.
yeah, go ahead, Tiffany.
Okay, so we do have it proposed to be illuminated, but we did propose with LEDs, which are more of a soft LED, not as bright, so it won't be distracting to the eye since it's within the downtown district.
Okay, but there's nothing stopping the light coming through the white area, correct?
No, yeah, that's correct. No, not this one.
Okay. Any other questions from the board or staff of Gleason and Sons? All right, thank you, Tiffany. Any comments from the public? Okay, hearing none, I'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
I would move, I like the recommendation that that Dean suggested earlier to have the logo and the letters illuminated, but not the full background.
Okay.
So that would be option 2.
Yep. So we have a motion of option 2. Sounds like this is a modification to what we heard from you, Tiffany, so that we would like the white part of the sign to be obscured. Is that the right term?
Yeah.
Okay.
It would be covered and only the letters and logo would show through.
Okay. It's moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. So motion passes 3-0. Thank you, Tiffany. Apologize for the difficulties.
So item 3.2 on today's agenda is an application for certificate of compatibility. It was filed by Mr. Jeff Mays of Compro Realty on behalf of the property owner, 1858 Properties LLC, and their proposal is to make exterior modifications to the Santa Fe and Mulberry facades of an existing building that's located at the southwest corner of Santa Fe and Mulberry. And the purpose of these modifications is to convert that building into a Medes restaurant. And in addition to the facade changes, the scope of work involves the construction of a covered patio on the north side of the building, as well as new wall signs. And so we've given you quite a bit of background on this building. It was originally modified to be a Western Auto store and later used by Safelite Auto Glass, and that's the reason for the overhead doors that face Mulberry, because it was used for automotive services. And the building occupies one of the platted lots. It's 6,000 square feet, has a 0 setback on Santa Fe, and is set back from Mulberry. And after acquiring the property, there were a number of actions that were taken by 1858 Properties. And so they came before this board and got approval to do some exploratory demolition, to peel off the white sheet metal covering and the black metal awnings to try to reveal the brick so they could determine their next steps in the renovation. And that exploratory demolition removal was approved in February of 2023. And then following that, there was a petition filed to vacate the alley that runs north-south, south of Mulberry. And that alley was bisecting the 7th Street and Santa Fe lots, and that alley was vacated in March of 2023. And then in March of this year, the property was rezoned to C4 from residential and shopping center district to C4. And then also at that time, the City Commission approved a license agreement, and because of the bump out of the proposed covered patio, that forced the parking along Mulberry to bump out into the Mulberry Street right-of-way. And the City Commission approved that, subject to the licensee, 1858 Properties, being responsible for removal and replacement of the public sidewalk and placing parking blocks in their parking stalls to protect the adjacent sidewalk. So do we have the building graphics available, Gage? So if we look at the project proposal, we're talking about removal of overhead doors. We're talking about installing new brick and stone building facades and adding wood trim and new aluminum storefronts. We're talking about constructing a new patio on the north side of the building. we're talking about installation of new wall signs that you can see in this illustration, and we're talking about construction of a new surface parking lot west of the building. And again, as we noted, although this property is south of Mulberry, it is within Business Improvement District number 1, and it does require this board to approve a certificate of compatibility before any permits are issued. And so we have provided you with what the guidelines say about architectural character and building materials. We provided you with some information about storefronts, windows, and doors. Provided some information about what the guidelines say about signs. And this project really touches on all those things. And there's even some accent lighting that's going to be provided on the outside. And so I don't think that we put them in your packet, but they also provided some nighttime illustrations, and what those showed was that the exterior lighting on the building is really more decorative, and it's not putting out a lot of light. And so there's not going to be a lot of light spill generated by this. But obviously the glass and aluminum storefront system that they're proposing is more consistent with what was you see in the downtown storefronts. Actually, at one time when Western Auto was there, they had some large windows facing Santa Fe, but they got covered up, and then even more covered up when it was Safelite Auto Glass. This is a utilitarian building, so there's very few architectural or character-defining features to protect or preserve. And so the dark bronze storefront trim and glass, the new entrance doors and windows, the new metal canopy in place of the awnings, all make this more compatible with what we traditionally see downtown and what we have seen across the street with the new Homewood Suites Hotel. And so this appears to match new buildings and be consistent with what we see on South Santa Fe. And in terms of the signage, we're talking about letters that will be individually illuminated. There's no sign cabinet, so those white letters that you see there for Medes, just the letters themselves will be illuminated, and there's no cabinet. And we do have, in terms of lighting, you can see the wall-mounted lanterns that are right there. And then the final aspect of this is the construction of the patio. And the materials used on the patio are consistent with the rest of the building and do involve the installation of a hedge along the side of that patio. I may ask the applicant to amplify a little bit on the west and east facing exterior walls and what those would consist of in a little more detail. But we have evaluated this for consistency with the design guidelines, and we find that all the elements, the facade changes, the construction of the patio, the flush mounted wall signs, and the lighting, which accents but doesn't generate a lot of light spill, are all consistent with the design guidelines. So your options in looking at this project would be to approve the proposed exterior renovations, finding that they conform with the design guidelines for downtown Salina. You could approve the application subject to any conditions approved by a majority of the design review board members, or you could postpone consideration if you feel like you're lacking information, or you could deny the application, making findings that would support a denial. We asked some questions on page 12, and the applicant has provided staff with some information on that. They want to amplify that, but one of the things that we asked was whether the parking lot to the west was going to be constructed as part of the original building renovation or if that was being put off to a later time. And you'll see that our recommendation is to approve this with the building facade modifications and the wall signs, with the condition that separate permits be applied for and issued for the wall signs. And then one of the things we're asking you whether the board would be willing to delegate the final review of the off-street parking areas to allow staff to be review those administratively as part of a building permit, so the design of those parking areas would be reviewed as part of the building permit, not come back separately to this board. But we would be available for any questions you have, and we have a representative of 1858 Properties who could answer any project-specific questions. But overall, this is a great enhancement of that particular corner, and is taking a building that was automotive service and character on the fringe of downtown and turning it into a building that reflects downtown. So with that, we'll be open to questions, and we have Catherine Kitchen here to answer project-specific questions.
Any questions from the board of staff? We'll have one question of staff that I didn't find. It's kind of probably falls in line with materials of the project, but I noticed a lot of wood accents. Do our guidelines discourage the use of natural wood in favor of composite just because of maintenance? Or is that more of a recommendation?
Well, in this case, we're still talking about the principal facade is still primarily masonry, and the wood is used as an accent, and so there's very little original to this building. So the best we can do is say it's going to be wood-like in appearance, and it may be something that's a composite that's wood in appearance, but the design guidelines don't differentiate the actual material, just the appearance. But we're viewing it as the wood is an accent trim, and the predominant is still a masonry and stone facade, particularly on the north side.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other questions, I'll invite the applicant up. We have a list of questions. I don't know if you have this.
Sure, and we did submit those to staff ahead of time.
Okay.
So I'm happy to answer any of those if there are specific ones, or I can go through each one.
If you just want to kind of, for the benefit of the
Highlight.
board,
Okay,
what the
sure.
information that you gave us, and
Okay.
highlight those.
Okay, Catherine Kitchen of 1858 Properties. Regarding question 1, the color materials for the east exterior door and door frames are to be a dark bronze aluminum storefront. The east storefront door will match that and be a standard dark bronze storefront. The north entrance, which will be the front entrance to the building, so the door facing Mulberry, will be a let's see. The entrance storefront will be a dark bronze, but the entry doors will have a wood grain finish to give the appearance of wood, but it's also more sustainable in that aluminum. Then on question 2, well, in the wall signs you kind of covered, but they will be acrylic, internally illuminated signs. I'm trying to go through my list. On item 3, on well, they'll be internally illuminated. Those signs, if they do have a small change, I was just talking to the architect, he met me here to discuss things. The only thing that could change was that if something that it may end up being backlit, similar to what we are seeing on the new Prairieland Market. Of a look like that. So, and that would be something we'd come back to staff with, but that one's a little bit, but at this point, that is the intent. Then on the accent lights, all of those are either downward facing, like on the patio itself, or anything that's on the facade will have are front shielded, so it's not creating a lot of light problems across the area. And as Mr. Andrews stated, we are planning to construct the parking lot. And in one of the site plan drawings, there is a layout for the parking lot. And we don't anticipate, I thought it was part of it. We don't anticipate that changing, that layout. So that is fairly close to what we've even considered the little jog over on the west side, because there's an already existing electrical box over on the other side. The jog for the parking lot, so that we avoid that, so we've already considered that. It will be a lighted parking lot too, but we also are going to have photometrics and things that we'll submit to staff with that too, so that we don't have a lot of bleeding light for our neighbors. So
Katie, you may have mentioned it, but in the questions it asked about the existing pole sign. Are you guys going to do that?
That will be coming down.
Oh, cool.
So that will come down as well. So
great.
Really trying to create a space that is complementary to the downtown, to the aesthetics of where the downtown is going, and on the intent on this is to really kind of mix materials, but also in a way that complements what already exists. There will be another storefront available on the west side of the building. We don't have a user at this time for that, but we will finish the exterior of the space to be finished, regardless of whether or not we have a user by the time we get to the end of this.
So for everyone's benefit, the building is 120 feet east-west, and Medes will occupy the east 72 feet of that 120, so there would be a tenant space available west of that.
Yeah, so about 2,300 square feet, whether or not that is one tenant or, broken into a couple different options. We plan on kind of white box finishing that space, so it's kind of ready, since we're already working on the rest of the building.
One question, I don't know who wants to answer this one, but sign allowances, square footage, we have plenty for the tenant, I assume,
Yes.
if they want to put up a similar.
Because the building is actually on two, it has
a lot of
two
square footage.
It has two
frontage.
street frontages. It has plenty, and we are still well within. Especially if we have a second user, you get a kind of more of an allowance when there's multiple users in one building. So, not the total allowance, but the total signage.
Okay. Any other questions of the applicant? All right.
Well, thank you so much
you.
for your consideration.
So by getting rid of the less than attractive pole sign, that opens up additional opportunities for other signage on the building. So
Yeah, looks fabulous. All right, I will bring it, comments from interested citizens. Seeing none, we will move on to, do I have a motion from the board?
So again, on page 12 was our recommended option, which was option 2, approving the application that would include the facade, the proposed wall signage, and the outdoor patio, and then with the conditions outlined there, and that condition number 5 was that the final design for the off-street parking areas north and west of the building would be reviewed and approved administratively by staff so that we would review that as part of the building permit, and not like if there's pole lights to light the parking lot, we wouldn't necessarily bring that back. We would just review that administratively as part of our building permit review if you were comfortable with the layout and the concept of that parking lot. So
I'll go ahead and move to accept option number 2 as the satisfactory answers to the questions were brought today. And I guess that's our
I'll
motion.
second.
I'll add some comments just for clarification, because it sounds like the applicant was still deciding on how they want to light the sign, whether it's internally illuminated or backlit. Either of those options, as long as it stays with the existing design look, that it would be handled by staff. Is that okay, Dean?
yeah, because both the illuminated letters only and the backlit sign are both consistent with the design guidelines, because we're not talking about a sign cabinet. We're talking about either letters that will be individually illuminated or they'll be backlit, as was done at the Prairie Land Market sign.
Are you okay adding that with your motion?
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion? So all those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you to 1858.
So just for your benefit, Katie, the Planning Commission will take up the outdoor patio question on Tuesday. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item 3.3, administrative items, annual business meeting, election of officers.
So we have 5 members that have been appointed to this board, and 2 new members, Julie and Michael, have been able to attend. Jessica Herman was appointed and is not able to attend today, and then Mr. Manley and John Nelson are carryover members. We still have 2 vacancies, one for a design professional and one for a citizen at large. And we continue to work with SDI to see about getting expressions of interest for those positions. But this board has a chair and a vice chair, and they would serve for 1 year from September till the following September. And no one can hold that office for more than 2 full consecutive terms, and Mr. Manley served as your chair the last term, and he is eligible for a second term. And Mr. Kevin Romey served as vice chair, and he is no longer on the board. And so we have 5 members, and any of the 5 members would be eligible for the position of chair, and then any of the 5 members would be eligible for the position of vice chair. And you don't have to be present to win, so I'm not going to pick on any of the ones who aren't here, but people who aren't here can be nominated. So I would start by opening the floor to see if any members want to make a nomination for a chair to serve for the upcoming term.
I would love to nominate Andrew Manley.
Okay, we have a motion to nominate Andrew Manley to serve as chair. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to nominate Andrew Manley. Are there any further nominations? Seeing none, I will call the question, and all those in favor of electing Andrew Manley as chair of the Design Review Board, please say aye.
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 Okay, so we have a chair. That leaves us to the position of vice chair. All 5 members, including those not present, are eligible to fill that position. The vice chair would essentially fulfill the functions of the chair, chairing the meetings in the absence of the chair. And so I'll open the floor to nominations for someone to serve as vice chair in Mr. Manley's absence.
I'm going to nominate one of you two. So eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Let's go with, I nominate Mr. Freeland to be
such a good
vice
choice.
chair. I
Okay.
consider him a design professional, by the way.
We have a motion to nominate Michael Freeland to serve as vice chair for the coming term. Is there anyone who would like to second that motion?
I would love to second that motion.
Sure she would.
All right, we have a motion and a second to nominate Michael Freeland as vice chair. Is there any further nominations from the floor? Seeing none, I will call the question on vice chair. All those in favor of Michael Freeland serving as vice chair for the Design Review Board, please say aye.
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 Okay, you have fulfilled your elective duties and had filled those spots for the coming year, and we just hope that Mr. Manley has a good attendance record. So,
I only have one blemish on my record, so. All right.
so we can report. We have no updates other than we got a few finishing things to work out with Candiles. It's a little bit situation because you have to have a licensed sign contractor to erect a sign. They already have a sign, but they're trying to find somebody to install it for them and make the modifications. But we're continuing to work with them on that. But we do have applications filed for your next meeting, and those would include some proposed signage for the Lee Lofts building, and there were some modifications that were made to the parking lot at the northwest corner of Santa Fe and Ash, some tree removal and some modifications, and a plan for reestablishing landscaping and things where trees were removed is coming back to this board on the 26th of September. So again, this board meets the second and fourth Thursdays of the month, and so please check your calendars for your availability of the 26th, and if you're feeling like you can't be available, then please let Daisy know. But in terms of our other business, that would be that we will have a meeting again on the 26th.
Okay. Any unfinished business?
Just what we reported, that we're trying to finish out the Candiles project. And
Okay.
so
Public forum, seeing none, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I move we adjourn.
Moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you.